What's going on, everybody? This is Josh Engelman for Awesemo.com, and you are listening to the Night Shifts preview for the MLB slate tomorrow. We've got a pretty decent slate. 13 games, I believe? 12 games. That was close. Off to a great start so far, but that's fine. It's late. 12-gamer, lots of high-end pitching options that I think we could walk through, and a lot of quality hitting at the top of my stack list. So I'm going to break down the top 3 stacks that I have right now, and then we'll head into some of the pitching, and then we'll get out of here. So I have 3 stacks that are pretty clearly ahead of any others right now. I know we're a long way out, but there's not even anyone else in my top 3. This is a combination of every single first, second, or third ranking on DraftKings and FanDuel. So first team up is going to be the Astros. The Astros are on the road facing the Blue Jays. Astros have a 5.2 run implied total. They're facing Marco Estrada, 63% chance to win here for the Astros. Dallas Keuchel on the hill going for Houston. I love this preliminary lineup. Springer, Bregman, Altuve at the top. Marwin Gonzalez in the 4-hole switch hitter, better against righties, I would say. I don't have a problem going with Tyler White, 3,700 on FanDuel, but 3,900 on DK, super affordable first base option. And then on FanDuel, if you want to flip it, Yuli Gurriel, only 3,400 if you want to save a couple bucks there. Josh Reddick, if he's hitting 7th, 2,800 on FanDuel, 4,100 on DraftKings. A little bit more expensive, but I don't really have a problem using him. He's just going to be difficult to fit in on DK with Springer and with potentially Marwin Gonzalez in front of him. Even if you want to use Jake Marisnick, he's not my favorite play in the world, but stacking him on FanDuel, a minimum salary, is not a huge issue. I think the Astros are a pretty clear best option. Not a big fan of Marco Estrada. It doesn't project the best, 5.44 projected FIP via Steamer. So the Astros are currently my number 2 stack on FanDuel and my number 1 stack on DraftKings. That number 1 stack on DraftKings is totally because of George Springer's price tag, only $4,200, $300 more than he is on FanDuel. Only $4,600 for Altuve and only $4,500 for Bregman with dual eligibility, third and short. I'm going to have a ton of the Astros tomorrow. Not going to be too worried about Estrada. And I think it's even a little bit more interesting because Estrada is at a $4,100 price point. And we do have a couple expensive pitchers, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that Estrada even gets some ownership, which makes me feel even better about taking the Stros. Second up, we have the Red Sox. The Red Sox are at home taking on the Orioles. Orioles 3.7 run implied total right now. Red Sox 5.3. Also a 67%. Oh, no, Astros were 63. Never mind. No, also. 67% chance to win for the Red Sox. Nate Eovaldi on the hill for Boston going up against Dylan Bundy. Bundy has been just really, really bad over his last set of starts. I don't know specifically, I'm pulling it up now, how his most recent start was, but I know that when we took a closer look at Bundy on the Process show, it had been a while since he had put together a really good start. Oh, so he did go, oh no, I'm just talking out of my ass. 6 Ks, 1 walk, 2 earned in his most recent start. 8 Ks, 2 earned in his second most recent start. I don't know what I was thinking of. Yeah, disregard everything I just said about Dylan Bundy. Relatively decent recently. Can't complain. Just not going deep enough into the games. Throw everything I just said. Doesn't change the fact that I'm stacking the Red Sox because they are way too cheap. Getting Benintendi 3,600 or 4,800 depending on your site. JD only at 5,200. Xander Bogaerts, though, the guy that I'm looking at the most, hitting in the 4-hole, only 4,400 rather on DK. That's an excellent price point for a shortstop, especially in this Red Sox lineup. 5.3 run implied total is the 3rd highest on the slate right now. And you can use a lot more from this Red Sox lineup, whether that's Mitch Moreland in the lefty-righty matchup. I think Ian Kinsler is in a reasonable spot. 2,500 on FanDuel. That's a pretty nice price for a second baseman. Eduardo Nunez, a guy that I'd be willing to use, 2,300 on FanDuel, 3,600 on DK. Really, the only guy that I don't want is Sandy Leon. If he's projected to hit ninth, that's going to be a pretty tough sell. He's a $2,600 catcher, but I don't really love him all that much in the 9-hole. But I don't have a problem with anybody else 1 through 8 in this Red Sox lineup. I didn't mention Betts potentially leading off, but 4,800 on FanDuel, 5,900 on DraftKings. Absolute no-brainer. If you want to use Mookie Betts, go ahead. I'll have quite a bit. Man, I wish I could figure out what I was thinking about with Dylan Bundy. Might have been Giolito's line. I just went crazy there. I don't know. He does have a propensity to give up bombs, and he has pitched against Boston. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think this will be his 5th start against Boston. Will be 6th if we counted that rain out, and he gave up a bunch of bombs there. So I'm definitely going to have some Red Sox bats. And then finally, my third stack. They are second on DraftKings, third overall on FanDuel would be the Colorado Rockies. Rockies are at home against the Phillies, so we've got a Coors game. Rockies' 5.8 run implied total is currently the highest implied total on the slate. Zach Eflin going for Philadelphia, John Gray on the hill for Colorado. I'm really, really liking these Rocky bats here today. They are priced up a little bit on DraftKings, so you do need to be cognizant of that. But I don't think they got sort of the boost that's going to be a problem on FanDuel. Charlie Blackmon looking good, 4,300 on FanDuel, 5,200 on DK. I like that lefty-righty start. Similarly, David Dahl only 3,500 on FanDuel, bargain, absolute bargain. I will happily play some Nolan Arenado, 4,500 on FanDuel, 5,100 on DK. That seems to be a good spot as well. Cargo in the 6-hole, I'd love to see him get moved up against the righty, but 3,300 on FanDuel, 4,300 on DK. Very valuable. I don't love Ian Desmond all that much, but it's an okay spot, at least being in Coors. Projected to hit 7th, 3,400 on FanDuel, 4,300 on DK. I would work him into stacks. I would try to minimize the amount of 3 outfielder lineups I'd be taking from Colorado. So if I already had Blackmon and Dahl, I probably wouldn't try to get to Cargo. I would want to go to Desmond or whether the catcher is Iannetta, or if you wanted to try to go to Story or LeMahieu. The whole lineup is in play. With that 5.8 run implied total, I don't see any reason to get away from it. I'll happily be stacking up quite a bit of Rockies. Now, those are my top 3 stacks. Again, Astros, Rockies, Red Sox. They are the top 3 on both sites. No other team is cracking that top 3 on either. So you're getting the top 3 very legitimately. Now, if we take a look at pitching, I think there's a pretty clear number 1 option, and that's on both sites. Not super worried about the price on FanDuel, and he's not even the most expensive guy on DraftKings, but I am going to happily be grabbing some Corey Kluber. Kluber on the road facing the White Sox. Incredible strikeout matchup. Kluber projecting with 9.1 Ks tomorrow per my model. As I check that out now, that's 1.2 Ks higher than the second place guy. Kluber only 10,900 on DraftKings, $200 behind Severino. He is the most expensive pitcher on FanDuel, however, at 12K, but he should be. This is the absolute, without question, best spot of the day from a pitching perspective. It will be hard for me to get off of Corey Kluber. The White Sox strike out over and over and over again. I couldn't want a pitcher anymore. Kluber in his most recent start against the White Sox just 5 days ago, 8 innings, faced 34 batters, struck out 11. That's just, he even gave up 2 dongs. If he can limit those home runs, there's no reason he couldn't strike out 11 again. So I love Corey Kluber here. If we're looking at the other guys in the 10,000 or higher range, I would probably lean towards Luis Severino second, and then Clayton Kershaw third at 10,100. The one guy that I don't want all that much of in the 10K range would be Jamison Taillon. He's 9,600 on FanDuel. Again, I don't have much interest in him either way. If we want to start moving down towards some more value, I think that Jack Flaherty 9,000 on FanDuel, 9,100 on DK. That's an interesting option. Flaherty at home. Difficult matchup against the Brewers. Brewers have a lot of quality lefty talent, but Flaherty can miss some bats. I wouldn't go too crazy, but the 3.8 run implied total for the Brewers is showing some respect. So I will have some Jack Flaherty tomorrow. Makes for a decent value if you don't want to go into the 10K range. If you need to pick up any additional value further down the line, I think Nate Eovaldi is in a pretty good spot. I'm pulling him up right now just to look at his most recent game logs. Faced 22 batters in his last start, did K5. Not the most outstanding game ever, but Eovaldi only 7,300 on DK. That should come in under the average price. He might be a decent pairing with Jack Flaherty. But as we mentioned before, Red Sox are at home. They are facing the Orioles. Orioles not exactly a difficult offense, so I like Eovaldi in that mid-tier significantly more than I like anyone else right now. And if I were looking to go all the way down, God, it's sort of like a wasteland. I would have loved to have some interest in Ryan Yarbrough, who I think will be going for the Rays tomorrow, and had the opportunity to get a couple extra innings. Yarbrough only 4,800 on DK, so I have a little bit of interest, but it's a really tough spot at home against the Yankees. If his ownership projects very low or not at all, then I would like to get some shares at that price point. There's not a lot that Yarbrough can do to hurt you at 4,800, and I actually think he's a relatively decent pitcher, so I'll take my chances against the Yankees there at 4,800 for Yarbrough. Otherwise, I don't really like the idea of going to Dylan Covey. As I mentioned, Marco Estrada is 4,100. The Blue Jays are at home, but they are in a tough spot again against the Astros. Similarly to Yarbrough, I would have interest in Estrada, but only if his ownership is at zero. If either of those guys are getting any juice to their projected ownership, I would be steering clear. But if they are at very minimum salaries, then I think they're worth the risk. It's just a really rough area. I think if you're the lowest that you should probably take a chance at is Felix Pena, 6,100. Pena hosting the Rangers. 3.9 run implied total for the Rangers. While they do have a lot of lefties, and that does scare me a bit for Pena, Pena does have the wipeout slider against righties. So it'll be interesting to see where that lineup comes out and where Pena's ownership is. At 6,100, he has the opportunity to provide quite a bit of value if that strikeout pitch is working and if he's able to get that slider going. So keep a close eye on that Texas lineup. That will be the direction you'll want to look. It's going to be a weird day for lineup construction because the stacks that look like they're the best, Astros, Rockies, Red Sox, you can make a case for the Indians and Yankees. They're all relatively expensive, but there's not a ton of interesting low-priced pitching options so that you can fit these guys in. It's 10:41 Eastern time Sunday night for me right now, so Fantasy Cruncher is not rolled over. So I do not have the opportunity to run a crunch to see where my original ownership would break out, whether or not the public is expected to prioritize hitting stacks or the pitching. I have a feeling that they're going to prioritize the high-end pitching, Kluber, Severino, Kershaw. I expect those guys to get some pretty high ownership. I'm not entirely sure where that low ownership is going to come in. It could be Dylan Covey. It could be Ryan Yarbrough. But I think that will lend the public towards more of the cheap stacks that are out there. Maybe someone like the Cardinals or the Pirates or Cubs. They're going to have to save some money elsewhere. I think for my personal play for tomorrow, I will zig whichever direction the public zags. If there's a lot of ownership prioritized in the high-end pitching, I'm going to bump up my hitting side to lock in more of those bats and then just let the pitching arms fall as they may. If there's a lot of ownership projected to go to those Astros and Rockies, Red Sox, Indians, the high-end hitting stacks, I might look to get a little bit more cost-effective on the hitting side and try to fit in maybe two higher end arms. Stay tuned and check out the strategy show tomorrow, myself and Jake breaking down the slate game by game. Once we'll have some of that ownership, we can dig in and talk a little bit more about the strategy of lineup building for Monday. We'll also have the process show tomorrow, myself and Adam. We'll probably have a little bit of a discussion on what our process was for the NFL this past Sunday, or today, if you're listening to this in the next hour and 20 minutes. And then we'll probably do a little bit of deep dive into some of the pitching options that are going tomorrow. We'll have from A to B, Andrew and Ben tomorrow at 2:30. Those guys will probably be talking about the Sunday that was in the NFL, probably dip their toe into the water a little bit about Tigers' victory and the Tour Championship, and then we'll be closing it out. Deeper dive, Adam and Laffy going through game by game after all the lineups have come out. It'll start around 5 o'clock. It'll take you up to 6:05. And then Chris and Jake will be hopping on to go live until lock, all the way up until 7:05. That is the Monday that we have coming up. Check out all of our great content. Check out the On the Contrary podcast. It's on YouTube. It's on our YouTube channel right now. If you search youtube.com/Awesemo_com. If you're not already a subscriber, go check that out. It is a show with Alex Awesemo Baker, Chris Spags, and Evan Silva talking contrarian plays that were in play for this Sunday's NFL slate. But it's not totally dated. It's not totally slate-specific stuff. They do talk a little bit more holistically. So it's a great show. Evan's been a great guest so far. We've been really enjoying having him on these past 2 weeks. Check out all that stuff right now, guys. Check out all the content we're putting out. This FanVice acquisition has been excellent. We've been getting a ton of great content from everyone that was previously involved in FanVice, so looking to keep that going. Stay tuned for even more. Fantasy Cruncher add-on pricing is available. Go to the main homepage, awesemo.com. You can get a little bit more information in the Fantasy Cruncher section. Best of luck to everyone if you're playing any NFL showdown slates or anything right now, and best of luck tomorrow in your baseball. Talk to you guys later.